this episode, I talk with my friend Paul Aloisio. Paul is a freelance horror journalist and also plays in the killer metal band Restless Spirit. We go over some killer old school and new school horror, and we also touch on some of our favorite typo negative songs and stuff like that, so hope you dig this one. When you're done with this episode, make sure you check out my fellow horsemen of the podcast Apocalypse. Everything Went Black podcast, Into the Necrosphere, the Necromaniacs podcast, Iblis Manifestations, and the Soul Knox podcast. And if you dig what you hear on whatever app you use, Apple, Spotify, whatever and stuff, leave me a rating. And thank you for listening, and I hope you dig this episode. All right, Paul. Thanks for being on the podcast, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed the episode you did with Mike on. I think it was on the Everything Went Black episode. That was really fucking killer.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, Mike's a great guy to talk to.
Yeah, he's awesome, and our Horsemen of the Podcast Apocalypse group that we have going on with all our our brethren of the podcast world is really cool too. Like how we're all coming together to like support each other and stuff, and Mike's a big giant part of that.
Yeah, I didn't know about any of that until I listened back to the podcast I was on, which I never really do, but I was just like, I wonder how my voice, like how the quality was. And then so you guys do like a lot of stuff, right? You got like almost like an episode every week from all you guys.
Yeah, pretty much we got the whole week covered except for Saturday, I believe. But my podcast is every other Monday. I do mine once every 2 weeks. Just because that's just how I roll with mine. And then on Tuesdays we got Into the Necrosphere. Wednesdays we got Everything Went Black. Thursdays the Necromaniacs podcast. Then Sunday we have Soul Knox. Friday, what do we have Friday? I'm having a brain fart, but I don't think we have anything really covered for Friday. So sometimes Iblis Manifestations he throws out on different days. But sometimes he'll do like a Friday. It just depends with him. He does, it's not like a set date. But
yeah,
I mean, we pretty much got every day covered for you, with something different from metal to horror and everything in between.
Yeah, no, it's super awesome. Super fucking awesome.
Yeah, a great group of people. Like, I consider them all brothers and stuff. And I don't use that word sparingly. So, know. So it's just really cool. And it helps everybody out. We all, all empowered by each other, and it just kind of like makes you want to just work harder and stuff and really get your shit out there.
Oh, dude, definitely. That's like the most important part of like any like artistic thing. Like just having a community makes you feel like, all right, I'm not wasting my time.
Right. Yeah. It's like, man, I'm not just doing this for shits. It's like there's a purpose now. There's even some talks of in the future maybe doing some shirts as well for like the Horsemen of the Podcast Apocalypse, and I'm totally down with that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the way I treat podcasting is kind of like the way I treat like when I was doing band stuff and everything. I just want to keep it like metal and stuff. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
DIY and it's like I don't know, gritty and just have a metal feel to it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You did some stuff with you did some hard writing, or you still do some like hard journalism, right?
Yeah, I used to. I did it for many years, and then the pandemic happened, and people just couldn't like afford to pay me anymore, and I was like, oh, all right, that's cool. First I said I would still do it, but then like it's a lot of work, And,
oh, dude, yeah, totally.
Because like that's how I was making money for like a long time. But I was like, yeah, I'll still do it. And then it just like I found myself like not like too excited about anything because everything was like getting canceled. It was like everything I'd write about was like this show's production canceled for now. Mm-hmm. This movie canceled. So it's like this is depressing. And I just took like first of all, I thought it was only going to be like not that long. I did not think the pandemic was going to last this long. I don't think anybody did, but I just kind of was like, let me just use this as a break and, for the first time in forever, just like take a step back from real life, Right. And I just never got back into it. Like I've been meaning to, but, the band's been pretty busy. Home life has been really busy. So it's just like, I just got to take that leap. I just like got to do it one day. but the day has not come yet.
Yeah, when it comes to like writing, I before I did podcasting, I did a bunch of like reviews and stuff. I would review movies that haven't come out yet. You know, people would send me screeners and stuff, and that's really how I got started doing horror stuff. But like going back to writing after podcasting is kind of like boring to me now because I've written so many fucking reviews, and I still have the website up, the Horrorwolf 666 website with all these old reviews and stuff. But I don't know, I kind of lost the passion of writing reviews. It gets old after a while, you know.
Yeah, yeah, like I liked it, but at the same time, I was always thinking like, who the fuck, who am I, to be telling this movie is good or not? Like, I like more like opinion pieces and stuff like that. And then the other thing was, I used to do it on tour. Like while we'd be like driving to another city in the van, and then I was just like, dude, this sucks because you just drive all day, you play a show. If you party or get drunk or whatever, the next day you're gonna be hungover in the van, and then you're like trying to like read this screen instead of like and like formulate your thoughts instead of just relaxing and recovering. And I was like, I don't know, I don't really want to do this while I'm on tour anymore. So
Yeah.
I think I'll get back into it one day. I mean, like I always loved writing. It's an extension of I love reading. So this day I probably read more than I watch TV or anything at this point. But I think I'll get back to it. It's just I just haven't.
And you did all that freelance, or were you like working with a website or something?
Well, it depends. I would basically like I would write for a bunch of different sites. Some were just freelance. I wrote I think just one for like Den of Geek. Then I was basically like I would do a couple every week for iHorror, and I started my own website with like this dude that I don't remember how I got into it, but I ended up quitting. We had a huge fallout. The guy had no idea what he was doing, and he got like furious at me because one of our writers who I hired wrote a piece about cannibal holocaust, and there was a still from the movie, and this guy called me freaking out like, this guy is a sociopath. Why would he write something like, why would you put something like that on the internet? I was like, dude, you wanted a horror movie website. Like, you're giving us this money to do this, like freaking out on me. So it just wasn't working. But besides that, it's like, yeah, my friend used to have a website, the Geeked Gods I used to write for. That was pretty fun because it wasn't just horror, it was like sci-fi, retro, video games and shit. So I've done a bunch, but I'm sure it's a lot of work, and it's it's kind of hard to get a good paying gig. I did some ghostwriting stuff also. That was pretty funny. This guy wanted me to write a book about like chakras, and like I think he was like a doctor or something. So I basically just like had to do all this research on all this like shit that I have no idea what I'm talking about. And he like paid me a lot of money. I did a couple for him actually. That was really funny. But yeah, I sort of just don't really have the. I don't want to say I don't have the time because I know I can make time for it. I probably just right now I don't have the drive because the band's been so busy, and like I said, everything just real life is sort of taking precedence over that shit right now. But I'm sure I'll get back into it.
Yeah, and speaking of the band, like when I first met you, it was at it was y'all in Tombs and Cloak, and what was it? It was in South Carolina. It was what was it, last year now? Yeah, it was definitely last year now, I think. And,
Yeah,
dude, that was such a great show. Y'all fucking killed it. Like everybody was great. Like it's just such a good show.
thanks, man. I think that was at the Radio Room, right?
Yes, Radio Room. Yep.
Yeah. We just came back and we played, and it was like the tour we just did. It was kind of like nerve wracking for me because we're used to nobody like paying attention to us, like just straight up. Because for years we were just like plodding along and not just like sort of like grinding our wheels. So then our manager had the idea of just like us going out on our own this January, and I was like, all right, we'll do it. But I was pretty apprehensive because like who the fuck are we? But like every night, like people actually showed up, and it was really sick. It's like all right, this is working. People knew the words. They like brought shit for us to sign. It was wild. A lot of people have been like coming to shows and be like, dude, I don't really listen to heavy metal. I'm just getting into it now, and I found you guys, and like it's pretty sweet. It's pretty gratifying. But I like that place, the Radio Room. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the new radio room. I played the old radio room before they moved and like upgraded everything. And the radio room before that was fun, but it had no AC in there most of the time.
Oh
So it'd be
gosh.
like the summer, it's like 100 something degrees, you're sweating your ass off. But the sound and everything there was always fantastic. It always had a good sound, man. Like and it was kind of like the home of Doom too for South Carolina. Like the radio room always had like really good Doom bands in there. And it's that's what they were known for. But now they're kind of like branching out and doing more like bigger shows, bigger Doom bands, and like different type of metal genres and stuff. So and their food's killer now. They got great food in there.
Oh,
So
dude, I love the
another
food
thing.
there. It's so great when you get to a venue that's like, yeah, we'll take care of you. And then the food is actually good. It's not just like garbage, which, unfortunately happens occasionally, but not the case at the Radio Room. It's just overall like a good spot. It's a solid spot. Staff is nice. Definitely love
Yeah,
playing there.
that's killer. When it comes to like food at venues or shows you're playing, I got to say the best food we ever had, like band food wise, was in Chicago at Reggie's. If you
Oh,
ever
dude,
played
yeah.
Reggie's.
Yeah, they have awesome food.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's like one of the best parts about going on tour. Like just finding all this cool food, like these cool food spots that you don't have at home. So it's like a treat when you get to go and you find like a good spot. It's like, yeah, I remember that. Like let's go again, because everything else about it is so monotonous. Just like driving around, fucking with your friends in the van, and then just sort of wasting time. So like having a solid food spot is like one of the most gratifying things in that situation.
Yeah, totally. One of the weirdest places we ever ate on tour was in the Panhandle of Florida. We're coming back from a place called Churchill's, I think. We're driving back up or whatever, and super hungry, kind of in the middle of nowhere in the Panhandle. We saw this sign for like giant omelets and all this shit, like giant steak omelets. And we got to the place. It was basically a trailer that was converted into a restaurant, I guess, loosely based a restaurant, I guess. But man, the food was fucking awesome. But as soon as we walked up in there, it was all Jesus this and Jesus that. And there was like Christian music playing. There was like crosses everywhere and like Tammy Faye Baker picture in the corner somewhere. And like everybody just stopped what they were doing to look at us.
I was about to say they were probably praying, like Satan has come.
Yeah, the Panhandle's fucking crazy, man. Like that's typical Panhandle stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. With your band too, like horror is a big influence on like songs and your like image and stuff with your band, correct?
Yeah,
I see it.
definitely. I mean, like a lot of other bands, and like we're lumped in with the doom genre, and I get where they're going with that, although I don't totally agree. And a lot of the bands in this scene, they really like space and wizards and smoking pot, all that shit.
Right.
I'm just like, dude, like I've seen all that, it's cool, like, but like Sleep did it, and I'm kind of over it. And I don't know, like playing music and being in a band, and it's like all encompassing, it takes up so much of your time, and like takes up so much thought, and I just like to incorporate like everything, that all my passions into one, and I find a lot of inspiration from reading and watching movies and stuff. And I like finding ways where it's not so much I'm like, singing about just like chopping someone's head off or something, but like if I see a movie and I can like use that imagery to like tell my own story, it's really helpful for getting my points across. And also I just think it looks cool. Like, let's be real. Like, you could say like all the emotional shit you want and like how much it all means to you or blah, blah, blah. But like, come on, like everyone gets in the metal because it's fucking cool. It's fun,
Right.
So I just like to have fun with it. And like, it's like, you know what? I really like vampires. Let's put some vampires on a shirt, or like, we always joke because it's like I think like eh, so many of our fucking like shirt designs and stuff. Every time we get some design, there's always like a hooded type of figure or like some sort of like skull like Reaper type thing. We always joke around. We're like, all right, I think this is the last thing with like some creepy hooded guy, and then we'll see it. We'll see another design. I'm like, okay, this is the last one,
Right.
and then another one. We're like, no, this is the last one. But yeah, horror is definitely a huge part of what we do, and like I said, it's more of like I guess you could say like a means to an end because
Mhm.
like I use it metaphorically and I like allegory and stuff like that as opposed to just straight up singing about like horror movies.
Right.
So I just like I steal a lot, you know, like I just take from what I love and I see a movie that really speaks to me and or like a passage in a book where I'm like, oh man, that'd be an amazing song title, Like our first EP called Harvest was inspired by what was it called? A short story by Ray Bradbury called The Scythe.
Oh, cool. Hmm.
Yeah, and so I basically took that story and what it was saying, sort of basically the what I took from the story. The main thing is like death is inevitable, and like you could try and put it off and make deals and blah blah blah, but you kind of just have to accept it and so that I took the imagery from what I was reading and I took the meaning and I combined it into what I wanted to say as opposed to just being like this song is about this story. I took the story, I twisted it, and in a way I just stole it for my own purposes. So those are the kind of things that I like to do. Like I highly doubt I'd ever just like make a song about the thing. You know
Right.
what I mean? But
Yeah.
like, but in the thing, the whole thing of like not knowing who to trust and, the whole mystery of it, I could probably, if I wanted to, I could probably take something from that. And that would be a little more interesting to use as opposed to just like, this guy has tentacles and he's going to kill me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Then you'd be like if you did it that way, it'd be more like a gore grind band or something, you know?
Yeah. And like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like that shit's like perfectly fine. I like when
Hmm.
I'll be like listening to a song and I'm like, wait, like, are they singing about like this movie or something like that? And then it's like, yeah, they were. I'm like, oh, super cool. But it's just not something that I personally want to do. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not me. I'm a little like we used to say like we were crybaby metal, like because we were sort of getting a little more emotional than a lot of bands in our scene and stuff. So we're just I don't know. We like being crybabies as opposed to just like shock rockers, I guess.
You had it like to me, I heard some like typo negative influences there,
Oh yeah,
like
dude.
vocally, just in the melodies and stuff like that, which is, I think, a huge compliment because that's one of my favorite all time bands. And I think that's really fucking cool.
Yeah, dude, thank you so much. I mean, Typo is like me and Mark, my bass player. I've known him since literally preschool. And, we grew up together. We got into like heavy music together. We discovered Typo Negative together. Actually, I saw Typo Negative on Headbangers Ball, the video
Mhm.
for Black Number One. And I remember I was in like middle school or something. And I remember like I was talking to my friend on AIM. We were both watching at the same time. And I was like, dude, look at this jerk off, playing an upright bass with chains. This is so stupid. But then, like, after, like, the second I said that, I was like, wait, this is actually, like, really sick. So, I started getting, like, super into them. And I showed Mark them. And I was like, dude, you got to go to the CD store and you got to buy one of their albums. And he bought Life is Killing Me. And his first reaction was like, dude, this sucks. But then like literally a day later, he's like, I don't know what I was talking about. This is amazing. So, huge influence on us. We both have typo negative tattoos. I was lucky enough. I think I saw them 4 times, maybe 5. I don't know. But something that I really love about Typo Negative is that they almost do the same thing, where it's like, they use a lot of dark imagery to get their points across. And melody is extremely important in their music, and
Mm-hmm.
it's also very important in our music. And I think that, for me at least, that's the thing that I think sets us apart from a bunch of other bands like in the scene, because it's, we really just try and make songs, and we want to make stuff that can like almost like get stuck in your head and you could like sing along to, as opposed to just like filling the space. So like a bunch of bands, or even I've done it in the past where I didn't really know what to do. I was like, all right, well, I guess the song needs vocals. So then you just like throw something on it. It's like, all right, good enough. But we don't really do that anymore. Like, basically, we like to write songs that if you played it on an acoustic guitar, like Anyway, Here's Wonderwall, it would still sound good. Like, I was in the studio, and like a song that we're working on for the new album, it's going to be the opening track. I was having a little trouble with like something about the solo wasn't really sounding right.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the dude that was like recording us. He was playing it on an acoustic guitar and like singing it, and I was like, holy shit! Like, this sounds awesome. Like, that what you just did, like you singing the song that I'm writing right now on just an acoustic guitar, sounds great. And I was like, this is going to be a really good song. And I think that Typo Negative, like a lot of their music too, like, you could strip it down to the most basic version of it, and it'll still sound good, because melody is so important. And yeah, I mean, like, anytime we can rip off Typo Negative, we will. But we would like, I would never like cover any of their music or anything. I've heard bands do it, and I just like, I hate it, because Peter Steele is way too unique. Like, some bands just like, you just shouldn't be doing it. Just leave it alone. I think Paul Bearer covered like Love You to Death, and that's the only acceptable one that I've ever heard in my entire life.
100% agree with that. And they played it live when they came down here a few years ago, and I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. I guess that's as close that I'm ever going to get to seeing Typo Negative, and hearing that. They did it justice, and I was skeptical going into that. I'm like, you can't do Typo Negative, but they did it justice. So
yeah, I feel like they almost like they did it in their style. They didn't try and like rip off Peter Steele, and because it's just like, dude, like, the dude was a vampire giant in real life.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have the image. You got to have that super baritone voice. Like, if you don't have it, don't try and imitate it, because it's not going to work. And I think, like, we don't necessarily try and imitate them, but we do like taking parts, like, like nice little keyboard parts here and there that are sort of like buried, but you can like hear them if you really pay attention. And then I think just from listening to them for so long, the influence just like naturally comes out. And I was also always a very big fan of, obviously, the vocals, but the vocal production. Like, I really like how Peter Steele, the double tracked voice, all the reverb, the delay, the chorus on it at times. Like, he definitely used it as another instrument in the band. So yeah, basically we have a lot of Typo Negative influence, and I could probably talk about them for days on end.
That's killer, man. They're so unique too. Like, there's no other band out there, or probably ever will be, that sound like Typo. There's something about their sound is like, you can't copy it. It's like their own thing, and a lot of that, it deals with Peter's voice. Like I said, like he was one of a kind. Like, the way he could sing and how deep his voice got is insane.
Well, not only that, like, the personality. You go to a Typo Negative show, and it was like half of it was a fucking stand-up routine. The guy was hilarious and just outrageous. I remember for some reason I saw him in New Jersey, and someone for some reason threw a dime or something on stage, like, just money. And he picked it up and goes, "Oh, a dime, good. That's enough to pay for a night with your mother." And then he saw a nickel and was like, "Oh, and your sister too." So he was just Really, really fucking hilarious. And everything about it was so unique. And it is absolutely tragic that it just, I don't think will ever happen again. There will never be another band like that. And there shouldn't be. There really
No,
shouldn't be.
no, agreed. I think what was that band from like the early 2000s that tried to copy Typo? I think it was called Him or something like that. But fucking
Yeah.
hated them. But they did like covers of Typo and stuff like that too. And it's I don't know how I heard these awful things, but I did at the time. And yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm sorry you had to go through that because him sucks.
oh, they're so bad, man. Oh
They're
my
so
god.
bad.
That was
So
back in the
bad.
days of like when Jackass and the Bam Show were all like huge and stuff. You know, the early 2000s, I think it was mid
Yeah.
2000s. Yeah, that was a weird time for music.
It definitely was. But I will say that, I feel like bands like Guar, really, and Clutch, really coming out and getting even more exposure from like all those Bam Margera TV shows and shit. And CKY is pretty cool too. That those first couple albums were really awesome.
Yeah,
But
definitely unique. I got a good friend of mine who's a huge CKY fan, and I listen to a lot of CKY. Not really my thing, but I can hear that they're actually, they're good and they're doing their own thing, and it's really unique, like guitar tone wise, vocally, it's just kind of its own thing.
yeah, I feel like that guitar tone is something that most people that grew up, watching Jackass and stuff have tried to replicate at some point. Like, I feel like a lot of guitar players, more than they care to admit, have like even thought about getting one of those Parker Fly guitars that the singer would always use.
Mm. It's wild here, and like if one of their songs comes on or anything like that, it just kind of takes you back. Like it doesn't, you don't realize how long it's been since like Jackass came out and Bam stuff's come out. Like it's been like over 20 years. Like it makes you feel really old.
Yeah, and then I like they still play, but the guitar player Chad Ginsburg or whatever sings now,
Mhm.
and it's just like it's not the same. It's like sad. Like I get, it's like their career, they got to keep doing it or whatever, but it's that's another band that they really just had like all the right ingredients and people really latched onto it. Like the vocals were great, the guitar tone was great, the attitude was great. Probably not the healthiest attitude because they're crazy people,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's totally not the same. I wish what was his name? Like Darren, I think that's the singer's name. I wish he was still in the band, but like that's a nostalgia thing I would definitely go see if
Oh yeah,
if he
totally.
was still in the band. Yeah, but I saw them without them at a festival, and I was like, nah, I'll pass.
That's totally not the same thing there. Like yeah, he's like the founding member too. If I'm not well, was he the founding member? It might have been the drummer, which was like what Bam's brother or something like that. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that I'll never really rag on a band for keeping going if their fans are like into it.
Hmm.
So it's like whatever, like you got to keep going, your fans are happy with it, they like it, that's awesome. It's just not for me anymore. Like definitely grew out of it and don't really care to follow where it's going.
Also around that time, early 2000s, man, we had some weird fucking horror movies. It was a time of like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream and all that stuff, and that really never appealed to me. I don't know about yourself, but
It didn't, but I got on like a weird ass kick like a couple of years ago just going to the thrift stores back when you could actually find really cool shit, because now everything's been bought up and you just find all these tapes on like tape collector Facebook groups and stuff, and they sell for like way too much money. But back in the day, like not even back in the day, a couple of years ago, I I would go to the thrift store and I just like picked up a bunch of like exactly like I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream movies and stuff. It was like Final Destination. It's like let me just like check this out because I remember not caring about it, and most of them are not good, but I love watching them because it's like I kind of miss this period of horror when it was like super popular and like almost like pretty mainstream, but it was like the writing is laughable, the acting is horrible, but it's just like it's fun, but it's like it's junk food. It's horror movie junk food.
yeah, totally. It's like candy. It's like the candy version of horror movies. Like everything was super glossy back then. It was all film. All the films had like super attractive, like, teenagers and stuff in there. It was like the same formula for everything pretty much. But yeah, and that lasted for what, 2 or 3 years, if not more than that, maybe
Yeah,
5.
like also with like after Saw came out, I feel like every movie had this like greenish tint to it.
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
and
you
I
know what I'm
dug
talking
that
about?
too, though. Yeah, the greenish tint. Yeah, I think Saul started that because first time seeing that in the movie theater, I was like, wow, this looks way different than anything that's out right now. And I was like, oh, it's the fucking tint, man. It's like everything's kind of green and grimy looking.
Yeah, but you know what? And I'm pretty sure I've talked to Mike about this on his podcast. Like those movies are trash. Like, but I love trash. And like a lot of the movies that I really loved for the 80s, like they're fucking trash. They're trash, but they're awesome. It's fun, you know? It's like what I was saying about like getting into like metal and stuff. It's like it's just fun and it's cool. Like you ever see The Mutilator?
Oh yeah, yep.
Dude, love that movie. But it's garbage, you know? Like it's just a different type of garbage. And I'm saying it like it's a bad thing, but it's not. You know, it's
No,
like
it's great garbage.
yeah, it's like the best, but it's like it really, you know, there's no underlying message. Like it was filmed okay. I mean, the movie had a fucking theme song, right? Fall Break, if you remember that. So
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
dude, it starts out like it's like Full House. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And then it just goes and gets crazier and crazier. Like I think it was like a fish hook in a girl's stomach. It was rough, man.
Yeah.
But it's trash. It's just awesome trash. And so I talk all the shit on like early 2000s horror movies and stuff like that. But it's like, yeah, it is trash. But a lot of what I like is trash. So it's all good. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, I love, like, when I'm watching the Last Drive-In with Joe Bob, like a lot of the films he shows are like forgotten 80s classics or like from the 90s, like what we would call trash, like fun trash. He's got them on his program and stuff, and gives you like I don't know, this is a new respect for these films.
Dude, totally. And like it's something that's been I feel like horror is growing out of this, thankfully. But for a couple of years, this whole like elevated horror movement was going on. And
Hmm.
it just like I mean, a lot of those movies I thought they were good, but as a whole, I was just starting to get like really bored because I was like, this isn't fun. Like I feel like my favorite horror movies are fun. Like I
Right.
like just I like craziness and I don't know. Sometimes I just want to turn my brain off. I'm like, oh, dude, that guy's head is just not on his body. That's funny. Um, and like movies like Midsummer and stuff like that, and all this like elevated horror and shit. I feel like we're almost coming out of that, and I'm grateful because as much as I like some of those movies, not Midsummer, I don't like that movie, but like Hereditary,
Hmm.
um, it's good to have some variety. Like, let's just take Barbarian, for example.
Hmm.
That movie, dude, breath of fresh air.
Oh, 100%. That was my favorite film of last year. That made my number one list. I mean, number one spot on my list.
You know what I loved about that movie? It was just mean.
Yeah.
Like when I don't, I'm so bad with names. So like, forgive me, but the dude in the beginning who it's like, you're wondering whether or not he's a creep, not Justin Long, the other guy.
Oh, it's one of the Skarsgård. I think it's Bill Skarsgård, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that guy, when he goes into the basement in a little like corridor area and you see his face just get smashed in. It was like,
Oh,
whoa, like that was cruel. And I feel like for a while, the popular horror movies were missing that just like shock value. It was more so like, all right, we're not going to tell you what's going on. Just, you have to feel it.
right.
Like we're above horror now. This is elevated. So fuck that shit, honestly.
Yeah, I went in the Barbarian with. I didn't watch any trailers to it, none of that stuff. I wanted to go in blind because everybody told me to do that. And it's like two different films, man. It starts off like, oh man, I know where this is going. This dude's gonna be a total creep. He's probably gonna lock her up somewhere and videotape her because that's how it looked like it was leading to. And
Yeah.
then the head smashing comes in, and everything just goes like, what the fuck, man? You got this. Creature. I guess I'm gonna call it a creature. I really don't give any spoilers just in case people ain't seen it, but it's been out a while now, so you should already seen it by now, I think. But yeah, this goes into like a fucking downward spiral into fucking hell. It gets so dark and brutal and nasty.
Dude, yeah, and like I saw it when it first came out, like that first weekend, and I'm so happy I did before like there was a chance for anybody to ruin it for me because I'm naturally curious. So it's like I'm always like, no, I'm not going to read about this. I'm not going to watch this trailer. I'm just going to go in. But dude, I like I'll always go back on my word. Like I always, it just like gets the best of me, and like no, I need to know. But so I'm happy that I didn't do it for Barbarian, and it
Yeah,
just
I
like
think if you'd have went in
shocked
with
the
that,
hell out of me.
yeah, yeah, totally. Like any kind of information you would have had going in, like knowing what was happening, like I think that would have probably ruined it for you.
Yeah, yeah. But then there, there's some people like my wife, like she hates like not knowing what's happening. So she'll just like look up every movie she sees on like Wikipedia. And I was kind of like, that's dumb. Like, why would you do that? And then I don't know, I like looked it up and apparently like a lot of people, if they don't want that suspense and stress, apparently they have like a better time like enjoying the movie if they could, just watch it and know the outcome. But
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, that makes sense. It definitely makes sense for people that get scared like that, or it stresses them out too much. Knowing what's going to happen next. Okay, cool, this is going to happen. I'm ready for it. Prepare yourself.
but Barbarian really like that's not I feel like certain stuff you can get away with, but a movie like Barbarian, the whole thing is like you need the surprise. You need it.
Oh yeah, totally, dude. And like I said, it's such a fucking hit in the fucking face, man, that we need because the whole elevated horror. I hate that term. I think it's a dumbass term. That people use. Oh, it's elevated horror.
Yeah.
It's just more like psychological stuff. Where it's just it's still horror. Horror is horror, but it's good to see that maybe a change is coming where it's just more like a little more brutality, a little more surprise. Stuff like
Yeah,
that.
well, I think like, my problem with, elevated horror is more of the term and the way that people like it turns into this like I'm better than you type of mentality. It's like 'cause I
Hmm.
watch this and I understand this film. And it's like, dude, it's a horror movie. Like, get over it.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. Like
Yeah.
I read an interview with John Carpenter, and I don't know, you've probably seen this. I feel like a lot of people have, but they ask him about his opinion on like elevated horror, and he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what that
Yeah.
means. Like, that's awesome.
John
Because like,
Carpenter's the best.
yeah, I mean like a lot of movies, like you like a lot of movies that are done really well, you could find meaning in them. I know like we were just talking about like trash and stuff, but there's a lot of movies where there's a lot of stuff going on, like Martyrs.
Hmm.
Um, and stuff like that. But it's like you don't really need this like label attached to it where it's like, well, I understand this film. You don't.
Right. Yeah. And there's people like that too, man. And they want to argue with you and stuff like, oh, well, this is the real meaning of the film. You don't understand. Did you even watch the same movie? Shit like that.
Yeah, where it's like literally everything is open to interpretation.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
you and I could watch the same exact movie at the same exact time, and I'm sure that we could both walk away from it feeling different things and taking different meanings out of it, and both are valid. It's like once you release a piece of art, it's not really anyone's place, I feel, to tell you how you should perceive it.
Yeah, yeah. It's art, man. And like everybody perceives it differently, and I think it's cool when you have different views of, what you're watching, what you're listening to. You don't have to conform though. This is what it needs to be. Like, no, it's your view is your view.
Yeah, totally. And like horror is so versatile. I feel like it's one of the most like versatile like genres of basically anything.
Hmm.
You could do like anything with it.
Yeah, totally. And that's what the beauty of it is. Like, horror can be almost anything. Like, it can be more thriller than horror. It can be more sci-fi than horror, but in the end, it's still horror. And that's really cool.
Yeah, totally.
What were some of your favorites from last year, horror movie wise?
Let's see. Well, definitely Barbarian. Um, I don't really know. Like, you'd have to list some because like everything just gets jumbled to me at this point because like I said, I've just been so busy with everything. So
Hmm.
I'm not really even sure like what I saw that was like a new release or something I was just like catching up on from like my backlog.
Yeah,
Um,
so you didn't have nothing that really hit you like, oh man, this is awesome besides Barbarian.
I don't think so. Like if you rattled off a few, maybe I could tell you, but I'm kind of drawing a blank right now, which is never really a good thing.
I'm looking at my list from last year. How about X? Did you like X?
Oh yeah, dude, that was another movie it was just like brutal. You know,
Totally.
dude, that scene where the old people are having sex,
Oh,
and, and she's like hiding underneath it. I was like, oh my god. So okay, yeah, that was awesome. I saw that in theaters. I haven't seen Pearl yet, but I really want to.
dude, Pearl's awesome too. I prefer X. A lot of people prefer Pearl, but I'm in the X category of this. I think it's just a little bit better of a movie, but Pearl's still fucking great. Also, gets pretty damn brutal. It's a totally different feel though from X, man. Like you'll be kind of like, what's going on? Is the same director? Like, yeah, same director. It's just way different feel, but also killer. And I was about to say Pearl was up next on my list. I was going to ask you about, but did you see another one that got me last year that I never saw coming was Nope. Have you seen Nope?
Yeah, I saw Nope. I still don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. I know a
Yeah,
lot of people like loved it. I thought it was okay, but I really liked his previous movies.
yeah. What was it? One right before that, the one with the like the clones of everybody. God,
Us,
Us. Yeah, Us was cool. Yeah.
yeah, that movie was great. I really liked that. That's another thing. I wasn't sure how I felt about it the first time. This
Mm.
happens to me a lot. I watch something and like not really like be too into it, and then I give it
Mm.
another chance, and I'm like, wow, I was being an idiot. Like this is amazing. That happened to me with Us.
Yeah, dude. Us was has some really scary moments. Like especially when the scene when like the other family is like standing in the driveway and stuff. Like, hey, there's some people outside. And you see them like getting closer and stuff. Like, I don't know, man. That was creepy as hell. Then you got like the kid like running around on all fours and shit. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, but I mean, like Nope was all right. I just there was just something about it. It just didn't like connect with me. But I would not say that it's bad, and I enjoyed watching it. I just didn't feel like sucker punched like
Right.
I did with like that's like a real good movie. Just feels like a you just got smacked in the face. I didn't
Nope
really
has
get
like
that
the. Oh,
feeling.
so I was
No,
saying
go
yeah.
ahead.
Oh, Nope has like this. I don't know, this strangeness to it, man. It reminds me of like an episode of Channel Zero, the series that came out on Sci-Fi years ago, which was one of my favorite TV series ever. It has that super strange, like weird feeling about it because like and Nope, the main like monster thing or whatever, it looks like a fucking hat, but it's still terrifying at the same time. It looks like a big cowboy hat flying around, flying saucer type thing, but it's not. It's its own thing, and it's just so creepy. Yeah, I don't know. There's something really creepy about Nope that is unsettling. And it's hard to forget it. And also the whole like with the monkey scene and stuff in there too was fucking brutal.
Yeah, I there's definitely like almost like a David Lynch vibe to the absurdity of that huge ass cowboy hat thing. Um, I don't know. I thought that idea was pretty cool, and I like the director in that movie.
Hmm.
Like the character, whatever the director guys was.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the dude from The Crow, man. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He was in the original Crow movie. He was the main bad guy in The Crow.
oh, really?
Yeah,
I had no
do like a
idea.
really deep voice and shit. Like, yeah, the badass. Well, it wasn't badass because I thought Brandon Lee's the badass in that movie. But anyways, but yeah,
Yeah,
he
dude,
was in The Crow, man.
Crow is great. That's another movie. It's very nostalgic. Like it's definitely um, you could feel like the time period of when that movie was made in that movie, and I love it.
Yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite films, and it still holds up now. Like, I tend to watch at least once a year if I can, but it's still good. It holds up, man. The effects are still decent. Like the storyline is still great, and it's fucking Brandon Lee. It was sad when
Yeah,
he went so goddamn early, man. It was a shame.
totally tragic. Totally tragic.
Imagine if he was around now, like, be a huge ass star. I'm sure he would be.
Yeah. Oh, dude, 100%, 100%.
Yeah, it was sad. Another one I had from last year that I don't know if you've seen. I'm sure you've seen this one, but I think this was like my number two or something from my favorite list. But it was Men. Did you see Men?
No, that's something that I kept hearing about, and then I just forgot about it
Oh
because
yeah.
like this last year we toured quite a bit, and
Hmm.
then we were writing an album, and then we were recording an album, and then I moved. So it was just like there's a bunch of stuff going on, and there were a bunch of movies I wanted to see, and then I just like I forgot about them. So I definitely should, now that things are a little more settled. The album's done. I moved into the new house, whatever. Um, I got to make like a list of all the stuff that I forgot about and go back and watch it because it seemed like last year was a pretty good year for horror, but I just
Hmm.
missed out on a bunch of it. I'm like, I feel like left out.
Yeah, last year was a great year for horror, and like with Men, like when you do watch now, I think it's streaming on Showtime. If you have Showtime or Hulu, I think it's on both of those, so you can watch it on there.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah, it's a major mind fuck, man. Holy shit. Yeah, you're
Uh,
either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it, but if you love it, it's gonna haunt you, man.
really. Speaking of
Yeah.
last year, something that did stand out to me just because of anticipation for it was the new Hellraiser movie.
Yeah. When that came out, I was super hyped for it because it's like, oh, Clive Barker says it's great,
Yeah.
And I
It,
liked it the first watch, but the more it settled in and the more I thought about it, I'm like, I really don't like this part. Why did they do this? This is kind of boring. I
your
don't know.
your
Yeah.
your first reaction to that, like, yeah, that's my
Yeah.
feeling on the movie too. Because me and Mike, we we talked about like our hopes for it. We went back, we watched the first two Hellraisers. We read the novella. I even went a little further and I started reading like the graphic novels just to like get like hyped up for it. And then it came out, and I was like, I don't know. It felt like a bunch of kids, just, like Scooby Doo, like running around, like ooh monster. That's what it felt like to me. It wasn't
Yeah.
this like
Yeah.
atmospheric type of like haunted house type movie that the first Hellraiser was. And then I went through like even the second movie, like Hellraiser 2, which people love, and I always thought I loved it. And then I was like, I don't really like this one as much either.
Hmm.
Like, there's basically, to me, there's one good Hellraiser movie. And then way back, I watched like all of them besides the one
Hmm.
without Doug Bradley. And like, they all sucked, but I kind of liked a lot of them. I wouldn't say they were good movies, but they were just like bizarre, sort of just like, junk food. Um,
Right.
so I know a lot of people like the consensus is like they're all trash, but like I don't know, dude. Like Hell World, the computer game one,
Uh, oh yeah, that's not good.
so ridiculous. And I think Henry Cavill is in that one. And
I think so, yeah.
what's his name from Pumpkinhead?
Lance
Uh,
Henriksen's in that one too.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that movie sucked, but I liked it because it was just dumb and I had fun. And
I got it.
basically,
Oh,
yeah, you go ahead, go ahead.
I was just saying something else about Lance Henriksen being there. I can't remember what I was about to say there. Well, go ahead.
Basically, if a movie can make me have fun, like even if it's like shit, like I'm satisfied. Like life is kind of rough. There's always stuff going on. If you could just like watch a movie and it's like this is not good. The cinematography is awful. The story is bad, but I had fun for an hour and a half. It's like, all right, I submit. This movie won me over. But like, they suck. And the new Hellraiser, it's just like I just don't know what they were going for. I truly don't. Like, there are a couple cool scenes. I kind of like the dude, like the big bad guy, with like the machine, like keeping him
Yeah.
alive or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, I can't
I,
remember his name, but yeah.
I thought that was cool. But then there's like all these like unnecessary plot points and like I said, just like the young people running around like being chased by Cenobites just seemed really stupid to me.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a Hellraiser film, man. It started out like it was gonna be like a badass Hellraiser film because it showed the scene like the chicks in this club or whatever about to go retrieve the box, I think, and it's like a dark like S&M looking club. I'm like, okay, cool, this is Clive Barker right here. Then
Yeah.
and after the flashback from that to like whatever time it was at now, I was like, oh, that's not the same thing. It's kind of like, oh, here's some little bit of teen drama thing going in here. I'm like, uh-oh, this is not good.
Like I just feel like okay, so they had like a bunch of Cenobites, but like I don't think they needed them all. You don't need a million of those things. Just
No.
have a couple and work more with that and keep things simple.
Yeah, and they totally felt like background characters too, like all of them, even like the Hell Priest. It's like that. I don't know, they didn't have any impact. It was kind of like them floating around, like walking around and stuff. Oh, here goes the Cenobite going this way. There was no threat, They didn't feel like they were gonna fucking kill you or nothing. There was no threat there.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know, it's just kind of silly. Like I just don't know where they were going with it. And like, yeah, Clive Barker said it was awesome, but like, dude, I don't believe what anybody says. Especially
Yeah,
when it comes to like people making money. It's like this, Stephen King. He's always saying like, "Oh, this show was awesome. This was great." It's
yeah.
like, like you think everything is awesome at this point. Like, I don't really trust anyone. You're all lying to me.
He's right about 50% of the time. 50% like, this is kind of crap. But some stuff he's right on. But yeah, I was disappointed in Clyde Barker's praise of the Hellraiser, and I get it. Like to him, I'm sure that's pretty cool. I did want to revive, what he created and stuff like that. So he wants to support it as best he can. But I don't know. It just didn't. Like I said, at first, I thought, oh, this is cool, but I was so fucking hyped up about this goddamn movie for like years in advance when I knew about it. Like, oh, there's a Hellraiser movie coming out, and as it just lingered on, the less I liked it.
Yeah, and I think like even in the podcast that I did where we talked about our expectations from it, I think like the general consensus for the two of us is like we're cautiously kind of optimistic. And I remember I think I said like if I can just say like, oh, this movie is fine, like that's good enough for me because you know like I said, I did enjoy like the other shitty Hellraiser movies, but then like towards the very end of it, then they really like to me those are really just like unwatchable bad.
Yeah.
Especially with like Walmart Doug Bradley.
I won't even watch that one. I will skip that one every time. My favorites are all the way up to Inferno. All the Inferno's really fucking good. I like Bloodlines. I like everything up to Inferno. Have you seen Inferno? I mean, you said you saw all of them, so I'm sure you probably remember that one. It was more
Yeah,
like the detective type thing.
yeah, I liked Inferno. I liked Bloodlines a lot actually, just because it was like bizarre,
Hmm.
and Adam Scott is in it, which is hilarious.
Yeah, it's so weird seeing him play that part of that fucking like demonic fucking like old school like yeah. It's weird and seeing him in his little wig and stuff too.
Yeah, and then Hell on Earth, Hellraiser 3 with Lemmy in it.
Hmm.
Like that movie is super 90s, so I like that aspect of it. Um, I could pull stuff that I like from most of the Hellraiser movies, but I'm not sure I'd say that any of them ever reached, the same quality that the first one did. And from what I understand, Bloodlines was supposed to be like way more in depth, but it kind of got like, marred by the production companies and a lot of stuff cut out and taken out of the script and stuff. So I've always been curious to see what the original intention for that could have been, but we never will. So whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And I don't know if this is still going to happen, but I also heard rumors that I think HBO or Showtime were going to do a Hellraiser TV series. So I don't know if they just canned that idea and they said, hey, let's just do the movie. But that's always been like a rumor for a while now. So that would be cool if they did like a mini series on HBO with the budget and stuff HBO has, and they tend to do a lot of like darker series. I think it would fit well over there.
Yeah, you know, I think it's still in the cards. I'm not totally positive, but I don't know. I'm interested, but I really just I've given up all hope of another amazing Hellraiser movie. Like it will never happen unless someone that is just completely out of left field takes a hold of it. Um, I believe Mike told me that the director of Martyrs or something like that was,
Hmm.
a long time ago in talks to do a Hellraiser movie. That would be sick.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
think he's got the view for it too.
yeah, no one involved with Hulu is going to give you a good Hellraiser movie. I don't think because it's really got to be subversive, and you really have to make people squirm, and you have to show some things that are truly uncomfortable, and
Yeah,
you have to go into like deeper themes. That was the great thing about Hellraiser. It's not about running away from scary looking monsters in like bondage costumes. That's not what Hellraiser is about.
no.
But that's what everyone thinks it's about. So it's like, okay, that's just what we'll do from now on. Make money. It's like, no, you're killing me.
I think that time is gone, unfortunately, though, like you're saying, like movies like Hellraiser and stuff, like I don't think we're ever going to get anything like that ever again. Like, that time, and that's unfortunate because, those are the films that really fucking kind of, they scared me. They made an imprint on me and stuff. But it just seems like a lot of films that come out now, for the most part, are really safe feeling. There's no like feeling of danger, like, oh, this shit's going to really come out the screen and kill me or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, I think Hereditary really messed me up. Um, I thought that was pretty good, and I feel like he really tried to do the same thing, like really affect you with Midsummer. But I just
Hmm.
thought that movie was ridiculous. Um, I was not really a fan of that. I mean, pretty colors, way
Yeah,
too long, and
definitely
just
looks good.
yeah, it looked great. But and then I think there's like an extended cut of that movie.
Yeah, there's a longer cut. I think it's almost like 2.5 to 3 hours, or it is 3 hours. I think that's the one I watched too.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
I thought it was way too long to begin with. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So like, there are gems out there. But I mean, in terms of like really like new franchises or like horror icons, like I don't know. I think maybe we could see some new ones. Like Victor Crowley, I feel like could have been one, from
Oh yeah,
Hatchet.
yeah, totally. I love Hatchet, and yeah, I don't know if anything's ever going to come out like another movie or whatever. If Adam Green's going to do anything else, but I think he's brilliant, man. Like I'm a big fan of his stuff, especially Hatchet.
Yeah, I think that it's just like the pop culture is just different, and I don't know if a movie, like or a franchise like Friday the 13th, like if horror will ever be big enough and shocking enough to create something like another Freddy or another, Jason or Michael Myers or, uh, you know, even though Clive Barker doesn't like this term, Pinhead.
Yeah.
It's just or Chucky, like I can't see it really happening. I know that there's potential for a lot of like these movies, but I just don't think that they'll ever catch on in like the public eye as much as like a new Scream movie comes out, and that's big news, and it gets all this press, and everybody
Mhm.
knows Ghostface. Um, but in terms of like creating a new one, you know what? I thought maybe I don't remember what it's called, which is also not a good sign. But the bad guy from Sinister.
Oh yeah. I think it's just called what the fuck's it called? It's like a cool name.
Something with
Shit.
a B.
Bagul. It's Bagul.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We sort of like I was like, oh, maybe they could do something with this. But then I was like, actually, kind of looks like Mick Thompson from
It
Slipknot. So
does. Yeah, yeah. I thought the same fucking thing. I was like, man,
yeah,
damn it. But dude,
I
the
like Sinister.
Sinister. Oh, dude, Sinister is fucking great. The first one, the sequel, you can skip that. I don't know if you've seen the sequel. Just skip it.
Yeah, I saw it. I like the main actor in it,
Uh
the
huh.
like police officer. But yeah, I I don't know. I thought that also that movie got a bad rap for some reason. Like I always thought it was just gonna be dumb,
Hmm.
and I don't know why. But it was good. I liked it a lot.
That's
Um,
cool.
I don't know. I think that could have become a horror icon, but nope.
Yeah, that would be a great horror icon. I like his whole presence, man. He's like ever like he's always there. You know what I mean? Especially in the first Sinister movie, like it seems like his presence is always around. You know, and is this that for the first Sinister film is fucking dark as shit, man. You
Yeah,
know, it's so good. That's one you want to like play late at night with no lights on. That want to fuck with you.
yeah, yeah. And like it, it to me, it came out of left field because, like I said, I just like I thought it was going to be another like just bullshit mainstream, like corny horror movie, and I don't think it was.
No, I think it's to me it's probably my like top 30 of all time, man. Because yeah, that's a great film. You know, people
Nice.
dismiss it just because it does look like it's gonna be one of those like shitty ass mainstream, maybe you know a big mainstream film that turns out to suck. Like most of them do. But yeah, that's something totally different. And I think a lot. Sinister is so good because I think the soundtrack adds a lot to it. One of the members of Over did a bunch of the stuff for that, and this
Oh, really?
yeah, a
That's sick.
few other people did some stuff with that too, man. But just the overall like feeling of that fucking film, like soundtrack wise, visually, the way it looks, like the way it feels, like that's a dark ass film.
Yeah. I also did you see the Black Phone?
The Black Phone, yeah, yeah, the other Ethan Hawke movie, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that like with his like mask, in that they were almost because I went to Universal Studios the Halloween Horror Nights this year,
Hmm.
and they had like a Black Phone one. Have you ever been to something like that?
I have not. The biggest thing I've ever been to when it comes to like theme parks or anything like that is Carowinds in North Carolina.
Uh,
Oh
well,
yeah.
if you ever get the chance, dude, you should go to Horror Nights. It's
Mm.
awesome. It's just like a bunch of haunted houses and shit, and there are people running around with literal chainsaws. There's like no blade on it, but they're actually just like chasing you around with chainsaws. And at
Hmm.
first, it's like kind of unsettling, and then it's like if you're there like the whole day, it's like, oh, dude, go away, like you're not scaring me anymore. But I they had like because the Black Phone came out, they had a Black Phone one, and I think they were I was like, you know what, this could be a new icon too. But after seeing the movie, there's no
Hmm.
potential for a franchise. I thought the movie was pretty good. I read the short story before it. I think it was. I had no problem with the movie. I thought it was pretty good. I didn't love it, but
Yeah, it was definitely good. It was solid. It wasn't like
yeah.
a 10 out of 10 or anything like that, but it was a solid movie, and it was a great adaptation from the short story. Which, if I'm not mistaken, the short story and all wraps in with every. I think Stephen King's son's like his whole world kind of like collides with his dad's world a little bit because there's some like crossover with like the Stand and stuff like that too, and the Dark Tower series. Like they're kind of almost interconnected, I guess. It's weird.
Oh wow, I don't think I picked up on that. But I like Joe Hill. I think I've read all of his books besides Horns and his his short story collections. But I did read The Black Phone, which had a bunch of short story collections. I think there's just one that I didn't get to. Like what is it, 20th Century Goats? Goats. Ghosts. I,
Pretty
but
good one too.
yeah, right. No, Joe Hill, he's good though, man. He's pretty
Yeah,
good.
yes.
He's good at like, you read a book and it's like you finish a chapter and you're like, all right, this is good enough to stop for the night. Like I'll pick it up tomorrow. He's a fucking bastard. Joe Hill is a bastard because at the end of like every chapter, he would have something in most of his books that it's like, all right, well now I got to keep going. So
Right.
I just tear through his books. They're very entertaining for me.
The connection with the Black Phone is connected with his other story, Nosferatu. I guess Nosferatu,
Yeah.
but it spells it Nosferatu. But yeah, that's like a whole like universe he's created there with like those like fucking weirdo, like almost vampiric type characters he has in there, like draw the spirits out of kids, or they're like take wants their power to stay young. I think
Oh,
all
okay.
that's connected. I think the what they call him, the Snatcher or something like that. I think he's in that world. I think that's the same universe, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was a great book too. I know they had a series.
Yeah, the
Uh
series was good. I enjoyed the series. I haven't read the book, but I like the series.
I thought the book was really good. The book is really good. Um and then he had The Fireman. That was a great book. But the first one I read from him, Heart Shaped Box,
Hmm.
uh I thought that book was great.
I think I've read that one. I've read most of his stuff, and I read the stuff where him and his dad do like a collaboration on a bunch of short stories. That's really cool. I think I've read Heart Shaped Box. I go through a lot
Yeah.
of books, so it's hard to remember all of them.
Yeah, Sam. And like sometimes like I like if I get really into a book and I read it like way too quick, I'll kind of like forget what happened like a couple
Yeah,
months down the line. So I'm like, shit, man. Um,
yeah,
but
things don't stick as well as they used to.
yeah, I definitely think actually speaking of last year, there are probably more books that stood out to me, and they weren't necessarily new releases
Hmm.
than movies. Like I read The Troop by Nick Cutter, and
Oh
then
hell yeah, that's great.
yeah, The Deep right after it.
Yep.
And I love both those books. I'm actually reading Little Heaven right now, but it's not like catching me the same way.
Hmm.
Have
Is
you
that
read
Nick
that
Cutter
one?
as well? No, is that
Yeah,
Nick Cutter? I haven't read
yeah.
that one.
It's
Need to.
okay so far. I mean, I don't know. The Troop though, that was just
Oh
it was just nasty, like
yeah,
that book wanted to hurt you.
man, dude. Yeah, that was like total fucking body horror from hell. Some of the scenes in that thing.
I don't think I've ever been so uncomfortable reading a book in my life. Like
Damn.
I was like gagging, dude.
Yeah, it had its moments, man. Like I prefer the Deep over that one though. I still love the Troop. I think it's great, but the Deep really hit it for me, especially like all the, like the weird millipede or centipede like scenes that were in there. Like I
Yeah,
really don't like millipedes. I think they're fucking creepy and they get big as fuck, and they
yeah.
fucking bite and stuff. So I don't want no part of that.
Oh,
So all
do
those
they?
like,
I didn't know
uh,
that.
yeah, they're brutal, man. They can take out birds and shit, dude. The big, really big ones, and they have those in Florida. I've heard so.
That's why I don't like going to Florida because I hate bugs.
Yeah, they got
Um,
everything down there you don't want to fuck with.
yeah, I thought the Deep. I don't think I liked it as much as the Truth, so it's kind of the opposite. But I thought it was pretty good. Um, that was another book. I think I read that in 2 days. I remember. I went to see actually, funnily enough, Modest Mouse, um, in Asbury Park at the Stone Ponies. It's like this big like outdoor stage over the summer, and I was like half watching them and half reading the book on my phone on Kindle, and I finished it at that show, and I was like, I just felt like I'm on a completely different wavelength than probably everybody else at this venue right now.
Right. Totally, because you're reading or watching music like
Yeah,
Modest Mouse.
yeah, it was totally like it doesn't fit the vibe for that band either, but I don't know, I just couldn't put it down, man. It was so good.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Nick Cutter. I didn't know he had the Haven book or whatever. I got to get on that one.
Yeah, so like in the beginning, I'll just tell you right now, it's like sort of like a Western like gunslinger type story.
Oh wow, that's way different than his previous ones.
Yeah, so it's
Whoa.
like, and I read a review that like someone was like, this doesn't feel like Nick Cutter. Because do you use Goodreads at all?
I do. I have that app on my phone to keep track of shit I read.
Yeah, I love Goodreads. A lot of the reviews are, I definitely find them helpful. But one person said it doesn't feel like a Nick Cutter book, but then like it kicks into Nick Cutter mode, and then it's like, oh, okay, this makes sense. But I have not gotten to whatever that person is speaking about yet.
And it still deals with like supernatural stuff or sci-fi or
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think like I don't. Yeah, no, yeah, definitely.
okay.
Um, in the very beginning of the book, there's like this weird, like grafted type creature, which you know, I, that's why I was like hesitant to answer because I'm trying to like remember exactly where the weird elements are coming from. But yeah, it hasn't come back yet. Um,
Mhm.
so like I said, I'm probably only like 100 pages in.
Okay.
Um, and then also last year, I read The Ritual from Adam Neville.
Oh hell yeah, I love that book. So much better than the damn movie. And I like the movie, but that book fucking kills it, dude.
Yeah, that book was super awesome, man. So I basically just like last year was a big reading year for me, just catching up on stuff that I've wanted to for a while. Like I also read Annihilation and absolutely loved it. Like that I saw the movie, like with Natalie Portman and stuff a couple years ago.
Hmm.
And I mean, I guess it looked cool, but that was like the most I could really say for it from what I remember. But the book just like, man, I thought it was so awesome.
I haven't read the book, but I've like I said, I've seen the movie and I thought the movie was really good, but I've not read the book.
Yeah, and it's short too. Like I think that's another one. Like you could definitely read that in a day.
Okay, cool. I'll add that to my list because I'm always looking for new things to read.
Yeah, same. And lately, like I don't know, Barnes and Noble, the one by me occasionally it has been starting to get some good stuff in. Where it's like I used to get so annoyed because for like years they didn't have a horror section. It was just like
Mhm.
lumped in with everything else. Now they have like a dedicated horror section. I'll find some stuff. I'll just like pick it up and be like, oh, this seems short. I'll take it home and read it. Um, like I read Night of the Mannequins by what the fuck is his name? Stephen Graham Jones.
Oh yeah, he's the one that did My Heart is a Chainsaw, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I haven't read that yet, but I read The Only Good Indians, and I
Yep,
thought that
read that one.
that book was awesome, dude. So I didn't know about like this Night of the Mannequins book, so I just picked it up, bought it. It was awesome, very silly, but very cool. That's another book you could. I think I read that in one night, so definitely worth checking out as well.
I got a couple book reviews. I mean, recommendations here that Mike Hill got me on. Let's see here. I'm trying to find out. Looking in my Scribd app right now. I use Scribd, and that's what I use for like my audiobooks and also for you know, all my reading stuff. I use Scribd for. So
Oh,
let's
do
see
you?
here. Yeah, let me get the name right because it's kind of a weird name. It's called one second, pulling it up right here. It's autobiography of a werewolf hunter. I think it's a trilogy. I'm on the second book right now. But
Oh,
dude,
is that? I
it's
think I
by
saw you
Brian
posting
Easton.
that.
Yeah, yeah. It's Brian Easton. It's some of the best like creature werewolf stories I've ever read, man. I wish it was a movie already. It could make a badass fucking movie.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out because I think I saw the two of you posting about that. So I was like, all right, it seems like everyone's into this. Like, I should probably check it out.
Yeah, it's so good and yeah, definitely something you want to check out. I'm 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 having a great time reading them now and stuff. And yeah, it's just so good. It's a lot of action. It's got like a almost like an '80s feel to it as well. Like this is over the topness.
That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, super killer. So
Sometimes I feel like I really need that out of a book because a lot of the books that, I end up reading are, they take their time, they get under your skin or something like that. But sometimes I just want like, exactly what you're saying, like an 80s movie in readable form.
right, and I think that's the way it should be when it comes to like werewolf stuff. Shouldn't take it too seriously, but and like the transformations and everything, like the way they describe the werewolves is just fucking perfect, man. They're like this brutal, nasty motherfuckers.
That's sick. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out for sure.
And it is roles too, dude. You want to read like, oh, I'm gonna read like one chapter and put it down. No, you'll read like three chapters so you fall asleep. If you read at night like I do, it's just it keeps on rolling. It's so fucking good. You just want to see what else is happening because he like fights all kinds of different types of werewolves. There's like a whole different there's whole different types of werewolves. You got like berserker type werewolves, man. You got like royalty of werewolves. You got like the bummy type werewolves. This is I don't know. It's a lot. It's a really cool universe that Brian P. Easton made.
That's sick. Because like I am the worst sleeper ever. Like it takes me forever to fall asleep. And I usually don't even, fall asleep till like 3 a.m. But I try not to watch TV or anything that late because it just makes it more difficult. So I'm always up reading. And so having something that could like keep me occupied like that would definitely be beneficial. Because I right now, I'm sort of in a reading slump, I read a bunch of stuff, and then I just haven't found anything that's really catching my attention at the moment. And to me, that's like the worst feeling.
Yeah, that
Like,
is the worst. So I like stuff to like get you right off the bat, you know.
yeah, like there are a couple that I'm reading right now and just not like hitting me. It almost like feels like a chore. Um, but like I said, I just went through like such a tear last year, and then I think it ended with The Stand,
Mm,
which I finally got around to reading that, and that was actually another book I couldn't really get into it for the first like 200 pages, but
yeah.
then all of a sudden like it just clicked. I don't know what happened, and I read the rest. Like I read like 1,000 pages in like 1 week. Like just that's I feel like all my spare time was like I got to read this. I was like staying up at night, and then when it was over, dude, for a book, and that was like the complete edition, like the long version.
Right.
I remember thinking like I wish there was more.
Mm.
Like I wanted to read more of this book because I thought it was so good.
Oh, dude, it's the best, and it's so fucking epic, man. It's like the Dark Tower series, just epic as fuck. And those two stories coincide with each other. Like, when have you read through the Dark Tower series, all of it?
I think I read up to the third to last book.
Okay,
And then I cannot tell you why I stopped. I have no idea.
it's a
Just
journey.
yeah, I just didn't finish it, and I really don't know why. But I'm so close to the end. It's like I may as well. One of these days I'm gonna pick it up and just finish it.
Yeah, I highly recommend doing that because there's a whole crossover. I can't remember which book it is, but they cross over into the world where everything that's happened in the stand, like right after the stand, the stuff that happened in the stand after that's all said and done. They're in like that same town, like seeing the aftermath of everything. And yeah, and also in the Dark Tower series, the Walking Dude is in there, but he's not nearly the Walking Dude that he is in the Stand. In the Stand, he's like all powerful and stuff. But it's a little bit different in the Dark Tower.
Oh, is it? Like something that um like sort of turned not like turned me off, but like really got me like, do I need to finish this? Was that I've heard from a bunch of people that um the the conclusion, like the final book to the Dark Tower, is just like disappointing. Did you feel that way or?
It's weird, but I wouldn't call it disappointing. I would say it's fitting, I guess, after the long fucking journey that is the Dark Tower. It kind of I think it ends where it should end at, but it's definitely not for everybody. Like it needs to be like, man, what the fuck? What was all this for? It gives you that type of feeling. But I liked it. I thought it was a reasonable ending.
Yeah. I mean, to be clear, I think with a lot of Stephen King stories, like he sort of just wraps things up at the end. And I don't always feel like I don't get as mad as other readers do. Like I'm just adapted to that style of his at this point, but
Mhm.
he tends to just like, just things get wrapped up real quick, and it's like, all right, that's it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, and it's just like he spends so much time on like these little minute details, and for me it works because I fall in love with these characters and I want to know everything. I want to spend that time with them, so I don't mind all this like seemingly unimportant shit. And then so he just goes on and on and on about stuff that a lot of people don't care about, and then at the end of his books it's like, all right, bye. By the way, this is what happened. See you later. That's always my feeling with it, but I don't mind it because I'm used to it and I've been reading Stephen King like all my life. So,
yeah. He's the best. He's one of my all-time favorites. So,
dude, and you know what? Like, I feel like he, in this like modern day and age, it's like, I don't know if I'm just completely out of line in thinking this, but I feel like the popular conception or perception of Stephen King is like it's almost what's the word? It's really not as brutal or scary as other things going on. But I think that's completely incorrect because there's a lot of stuff that I read and I'm like, holy shit, man, that was nuts. Um,
yeah, yeah.
and maybe it's one of those things where it's like almost been parodied to not parodied to death, but well, the example I'm trying to make is like the original Scream.
Hmm.
Like the opening of that movie is disturbing with Drew Barrymore.
Oh yeah, totally.
and, and it holds up. But like then you had Scary Movie come around, and then Ghostface almost became like a joke. Um, so maybe I think that maybe Stephen King is just sort of so oversaturated, that maybe a lot of people have this perception of him that he's really not as you know scary as he used to be or something like that. But I think that's complete bullshit, and I think that he has a lot of stuff that will mess you up, like truly.
Oh yeah, dude, hell yeah. And I mean, what was that one in the tall grass? Have you read that short story?
Yeah,
Yeah, that one's pretty fucked up, and that was a recent one he did.
yeah. I mean, the dude still got it. I'm trying to read Fairy Tale. Have you read that?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. A lot of people don't like it though, but it's hard to get like that first half is like, oh, where's the Stephen Kingish type shit? But if you can get past that, it gets really good once the other world opens up, man. It's fucking awesome.
Okay, so what happened with me is the complete opposite. I loved the beginning, and I loved that old man character,
Hmm.
and then the fantasy stuff started going on. It's like two different books in one,
Yeah.
and like listen how stupid I am. Like I bought a book called Fairy Tale, and once it and once it gets the fantasy aspects, I'm like, where did this come from? Like, so that's totally on me.
Right.
Um, Sometimes my brain just doesn't want to cooperate, and that's totally fine. But yeah, no, I thought the first half of it was pretty cool, and I liked where it was going. And then it I wouldn't say it's jarring, but I was just like, how like you read a Stephen King book and you just like get used to the town and the
Hmm.
people in it, and I was like, I was really liking like where can they go with this, and the old man, and I like the dad, and then the dude that like tries to steal the gold or whatever, like that crackhead ish
Oh
type
yeah, like the
guy.
impish type guy. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, so then he just goes into like a completely different area, and I'm like, all right, like I don't know. So I put that down for now, and but I will go back to that. And before that, I read The Institute.
Yeah, I did. I wasn't a big fan of the Institute. I thought it was a bit boring. It wasn't a bad book, but it was like, I don't know. I
Yeah,
wanted to be more to it or something.
yeah. I didn't really feel like I didn't really feel anything about that story. I didn't
Yeah,
hate it. I didn't love it, but for Stephen King, I really want to get more out of a story than I don't know.
yeah. It didn't feel very Kingish to me. You know what I mean? It was a very straight line. It felt like anybody could have wrote that. It didn't feel like Stephen King.
Yeah, yeah. I will definitely agree with that there. And there are a lot. I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of kind of like corny elements. Oh, one thing that made me like I literally wanted to write Stephen King like a letter and just be like, speaking of like fairy tale,
uh,
when the main character is like watching YouTube and he like calls it the tube.
oh yeah, yeah.
I literally like I was like someone needs to tell Stephen King this is not how like kids talk.
Dude, yeah,
There are
kids nowadays calls it tube. I think that's what they call it.
yeah, there are a bunch of like funny parts where he was like trying to be like, it's like that what's that mean with like Steve Buscemi,
Oh
trying to be
yeah,
like a kid. Yeah, how do you
yeah,
do,
yeah. I
fellow
know the
kid?
meme. Yeah, it was in high
Yeah.
school. Or something. Yep, I know that meme. Yep.
So that was the feeling I got from reading some of that dialogue in Fairy Tale. I was like, dude, like someone's got to stop you.
If you continue on though, if you pick it back up, like towards the end, it gets there's a big Lovecraftian feel to it. It gets pretty Lovecrafty, like a lot of Lovecrafty actually. So, which is a
That's
great
sick.
thing. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Continue on with it, man, because once they meet like you meet the person that's responsible for the world being the way it is in the fairy tale world, it's all dark and everybody's all fucked up and like mutated and stuff. We're having eyes and mouths and all that stuff. You figure out what caused that. You get to meet him, and yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to finish it. It's just a matter of, taking it off the bookshelf and actually opening it. Like I feel like once for me at least, I put it back on my bookshelf, it's hard for it to come back out.
Yeah.
But that's good to know because I feel that Stephen King does Lovecraftian type stuff really well. I love Revival, which to me is like Something Wicked This Way Comes
Hmm.
meets H.P. Lovecraft, and that is one of my favorites from him. So
Revival. I don't know if I've read Revival actually. I'm
it,
trying to think. I've read so much Stephen King stuff like Revival. What is that about? Just like without giving me any spoilers.
it's basically like about let me think of how to describe this. I would say exactly what I just said, like sort of like a traveling circus type thing. You know what? I don't really remember as much of the beginning details as I do because the ending just stuck with me. So it's like
Hmm.
one of those things where it's like I'm trying to think now because I tell everyone I love that book, you know, and I read it and it was so awesome, but the end just like overshadows everything that came before it. That when I recommend it, I'm recommending it to you because of how awesome that was. But it like it literally made me forget what happened before that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I totally get that. But the way you described it too, with the something wicked this way comes meets Lovecraft. I mean, that right there, that sells it to me right there. Like, I need to definitely check that out because something wicked this way comes. It's like one of the fucking best ever. Like
Same.
so creepy, man. And I wish, goddamn, they put that thing on DVD or Blu-ray. I don't think it's on DVD anymore. I cannot find that film, man. Like I just want to own it. And good luck trying to find it because I think Disney owns it, and they like pretty much put the shutdown on all that stuff. So I
Yeah.
cannot find it anywhere. If you do, it's on eBay for like $400, like a DVD
Really?
version or something. Yeah, and it's like a rip. I think. I don't think it's ever been to DVD. It's like a VHS rip or something.
That's crazy. I Is it even like on YouTube or anything?
No, I cannot find it anywhere. You can't even fucking buy it off of Amazon, like to watch digitally. You can't. Unless something's
Really?
changed in the past year. I tried to find it last year for something. I can't find it anywhere. If you find it on YouTube, good luck with that. Sometimes you might get lucky. Just somebody might throw it up there, but I've had no luck finding that movie. And I fucking love that movie.
Wow. I love the book. So I have sleep apnea, right? So I got to sleep with a CPAP machine.
Hmm.
So everywhere I go, I carry that thing with me, and I have a little carrying case for it. Um, and there are two books in that carrying case at all time because that bag has to be with me always.
Hmm.
So I put two specific books in there, and everywhere I go, these books come with me. And those books are The Hobbit and Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Nice.
So I reread the two of those like compulsively, and I literally do not leave home without it.
That's cool.
Dude, like first time, like the only time actually I went to Europe, I couldn't find my copy of The Hobbit, and at this point, it's become like almost like a good luck charm
Hmm.
to me, and I couldn't find it. I was like freaking out up till like 4 o'clock in the morning looking for it. Finally found it, and then same thing happened to me with because I lose shit all the time.
Hmm.
Like think like I'm always like my wallet, my keys. I'm the worst, and so I couldn't find my copy of Something Wicked This Way Comes. I think actually before the Tombs tour, and I was like freaking out, like where is it? I need it. So I ordered a new one, and I lose things so often. I now have one copy that I take with me everywhere, and one at home on a bookshelf. That was like I'm never losing this again.
Nice. Yeah,
But
that's two classics right there, dude. That's good stuff.
but no, I've never seen that movie, although I really want to, and I guess I'm not going to be able to for a bit from what you tell me.
Well, if you can find it, please let me know because this was last time I tried to really search for it was last year, I think during Halloween. Because I'm like, man, this movie's so good, and I think more people need to know about it. But like Disney just put the shutdown on that. There's a couple other like really dark Disney films from like the 70s and early 80s and stuff that you cannot find. And it's not on the Disney app or none of that stuff, and can't find on Amazon. It is bizarre,
Really?
man. Yeah.
Didn't So I heard this and I did not know about this, but David Lynch did a Disney movie about like some old dude on like a ride on like lawnmower or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've heard about that. I think I've heard Mike talk about that before. I don't know if it was a Disney movie though, but I know it's something about a dude riding a lawnmower. But it's not horror either. It's like, it's not David Lynch type horror. It's something different, I think. But I heard it's
Yeah.
really good. But I don't know what the name of that is.
It's called the the Straight Story.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Oh wait, it's on Disney Plus, and
Really?
yeah, David Lynch directed it.
Oh shit. Okay.
Um,
Well, that's a new one. That's something I'm gonna have to watch then. I didn't know it was gonna be on
yeah,
Disney. I'm like, okay.
yeah, like I don't know where I heard about this, but it was very recently. I was like, "The hell are you talking about? That's not true." And it's
Wow.
true.
That's strange, but yeah, that might be something I watch a little bit later today because it's David Lynch and he's awesome. So
Yeah, why not? I mean, you can't go wrong.
no. Cool. Do you when's your you have any like when's your next album coming out and stuff? That way I can kind of plug it for you and stuff, and I'll put the link in my show notes and all from this podcast
Um,
or anything like
so
that you want to plug.
it's done. Like, well, actually, I think I'm getting the final masters back today. Um, and then we have the artwork and all the layout that's being worked on. I think it's slated for like fall,
Mm-hmm.
so it's definitely going to be out in 2023. But that's really all the details I have as far as like a release for that, because it's still in like, we're just getting it finished. But our most recent album, if anybody is interested, it's called Blood of the Old Gods, put out by Magnetic Eye Records. And yeah, I mean, you could find all that information on our Bandcamp and stuff. And we're pretty active. We have a bunch of cool stuff coming up, or at least in the works. So we'll be hitting everywhere at some point. And we have a tour coming up in March with Howling Giant, so that should be cool. I don't
Yeah.
think I think the furthest south we're going is North Carolina. So
Okay. That's your
Chapel
job.
Hill.
Chapel Hill. Okay. I could possibly make that show. I can't make any guarantees. We have to deal with a diabetic cat now. So our nights are a little weird. We have to really plan them out, because he has to get his insulin shot.
Yeah,
So that sucks, man. He just got diabetes, got diagnosed last year, kind of right after the Toombs stuff and all. When I saw you with Toombs, I'm like, fuck.
oh yeah, it's a
So yeah,
bummer, man.
it's a
Sorry
lot
to
to
hear
deal
that.
with. Yeah, he's doing all right, but it's hard. He's got to get 2 shots a day and stuff, so it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, a bummer.
Poor guy. Yeah. But yeah, if
But
you'll get closer, like say if you come to North Carolina and like everything lines up right, that'd be cool to see you again.
yeah, I'm sure, and so that's probably the most I have to really plug right now. Like, everybody that's listening, come see us in March. We'll talk about horror movies and hang out. Um, and like I said, our January tour went pretty well, so we're hoping that this tour we could just keep the momentum going. You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah. I'm sure you will, man. I'm sure it'll be fucking awesome and stuff. And yeah, anybody listening right now, go check him out. And yeah, I have all the notes and all that stuff in the note section. So notes in the note section. There'll be links and all that stuff too. So you can check out where to see them next and stuff. So
Sweet, thanks, man.
excellent, man. And I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And it was fucking awesome talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah, man. And you take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, totally, man. I'd love to do this again.
Hell yeah. Later, man.
Take it easy, bro.